Everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're going to be looking at something pretty unique, the Bhagavad Gita.
Oh, wow.
And I know what you might be thinking.
Yeah.
An ancient Indian text. What's that got to do with me in my daily life?
Right.
Well, we're specifically going to be looking at it through the lens of time management.
Okay.
And we've done a lot of research and, read some articles on how the Bhagavad Gita can be applied to time management.
Interesting.
And I got to say, some of the things we found were really mind-blowing.
I bet.
It's not just your typical time management stuff, like
to-do lists.
getting things done, checking things off.
Exactly.
But it's like aligning yourself with a much greater force.
Yeah, and it's time itself.
Yes, and we actually found this quote in the Bhagavad Gita.
Okay.
And this quote says, "I am time, the great destroyer of the world."
Wow.
And I don't know about you, but when I read that quote, that's pretty intense.
It is intense. Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think it's definitely a very striking image.
Yeah.
And it really makes you think.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should take it literally. Like,
Yeah.
time is this evil force that's going to come and get us all.
Right.
It's more, I think, highlighting that time is impartial.
Yeah.
It doesn't really care what we do. It's just constantly moving forward, and everything changes under the influence of time.
So it's more about recognizing that time is this powerful force that we can't necessarily control.
Right.
But we can learn to work with it.
Exactly.
Okay, so how do we do that? How do we work with time?
Well, that's where the Bhagavad Gita really comes in.
Okay.
It offers us this guidance on how to kind of navigate the current of time in a way that's effective and meaningful for our lives.
So what kind of guidance are we talking about here?
Well, we found 6 key principles in the Bhagavad Gita. 6.
That offer us these practical insights into time management.
I love it.
And each principle kind of builds on the last one, guiding us towards this deeper understanding of how to live in harmony with time.
Okay, 6 principles. I'm ready. Let's hear it. What's the first one?
The first principle is all about prioritizing.
Okay.
And the Bhagavad Gita really emphasizes the importance of focusing on our duty.
Duty.
Or Dharma.
Dharma.
Above all else.
Okay, duty. That sounds pretty serious.
That is serious.
But to be honest, in today's world, it can be so easy to feel completely overcome by all the things that we should be doing.
Right.
So how does the Bhagavad Gita help us to kind of cut through all the noise and figure out what really matters?
Well, the Bhagavad Gita actually tells this really amazing story about this warrior named Arjuna.
Okay.
And Arjuna's on this battlefield. He's about to face all these enemies.
Okay.
But he is completely paralyzed.
Oh, wow.
By indecision. Interesting.
He's torn between his duty as a warrior and his love for his family, who are actually on the opposing side.
Wow, so he's got to fight against his own family?
He does.
That's a tough situation.
Yeah.
I can only imagine the inner turmoil that he must have been feeling.
Right.
I mean, it's like when you've got 1 million deadlines,
right,
1 million commitments.
Exactly.
And you just freeze. You don't know where to start.
You're overwhelmed.
Yeah, you're overwhelmed.
And it's in this moment of crisis that Arjuna's charioteer, who is actually the god Krishna in disguise, reveals the importance of focusing on one's Dharma. It's about identifying your true purpose and aligning your actions with that.
So it's not just about getting things done,
right,
but about getting the right things done.
Exactly.
The things that are aligned with my values, my purpose, what I'm meant to be doing.
And that clarity is essential for effective time management.
That makes sense.
When we know what truly matters, we can let go of the things that don't. And we can focus our energy where it really counts.
Okay, so how do we actually go about identifying our Dharma?
Well, it's a journey that unfolds over time. But the Bhagavad Gita suggests that we start by reflecting on our values, our strength, the things that really bring us that sense of purpose.
But we're good at what we enjoy doing.
Exactly.
Okay, and once we've figured that out, how does that translate into better time management?
Well, when you're clear on your purpose, it becomes a lot easier to make decisions about how you're spending your time.
Okay.
You can ask yourself, does this activity align with my Dharma?
Oh, I see.
If it doesn't, maybe it's something that you can delegate, postpone, or even just let go of completely.
So it's about being able to say yes to the things that really matter and no to the things that don't. That's a really powerful concept.
It is.
Especially when you think about all the demands that are on our time these days.
And it frees up your time and energy to focus on the things that really matter.
I love that.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the other principles, what's something that stood out to you about this first principle of Dharma?
What I find so fascinating is that the Bhagavad Gita talks about Dharma in this spiritual context. But this idea of identifying your purpose and aligning your actions with it is so relevant in the modern world.
Absolutely.
Especially when it comes to time management.
It's a timeless principle.
It is.
Okay, so we've got 5 more principles to unpack.
We do.
Are you ready to move on to the second principle?
I am.
Okay, let's hear it.
The second principle builds on this idea of prioritizing.
Okay.
And it focuses on the power of concentration.
Okay, concentration. Now, that's something that I definitely need to work on.
I think we all do.
So what does the Bhagavad Gita have to say about staying focused?
Well, the Bhagavad Gita introduces this concept called ekagrata.
Ekagrata.
Which basically means one-pointed focus.
Okay.
It's about directing all your energy and attention towards a single task.
Wow.
Or goal.
One-pointed focus. Sounds like a challenge.
It can be.
Especially with all the distractions that we have these days. So how do we even begin to cultivate that kind of focus?
The Bhagavad Gita emphasizes practices like meditation. Training the mind to become still.
Right.
To resist those distractions that are pulling us in all directions.
Meditation. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
You know, I've heard so many good things about meditation for focus and clarity. But I've always struggled with making it a consistent habit.
It definitely takes practice.
Yeah.
But even just starting with a few minutes each day can make a big difference.
Okay.
And the Bhagavad Gita also talks about creating an environment that supports focus.
Like what kind of things?
Turning off notifications, putting your phone in a different room.
Right, just eliminating those external distractions.
Exactly. And it's not just external distractions, it's also internal distractions.
I mean.
So the Bhagavad Gita highlights the importance of managing those thoughts and worries that are constantly swirling around in our minds.
Yeah, it's like even if you're sitting in a perfectly quiet room, your mind can be the biggest distraction.
Exactly.
So how do we quiet those mental distractions?
Well, one technique that the Bhagavad Gita suggests is mindfulness.
Mindfulness, okay.
If bringing your full attention to the present moment, whatever task you're engaged in, without letting your mind wander off into the past or the future.
Okay, so mindfulness being fully present in the here and now.
Yes.
How does that help us with time management?
When we're mindful, we're less likely to get caught up in those mental loops of worry or regret.
Okay.
And we're more able to focus on the task at hand and complete it efficiently. And that actually brings us to the third principle, which builds upon this idea of focus and mindfulness.
All right. I'm intrigued. What's the third principle?
The third principle is discipline.
Discipline.
The Bhagavad Gita uses the term sanyam.
Sanyam, okay.
Which encompasses self-control and restraint.
Right.
It's about cultivating the inner strength to resist temptations and stay committed to your goals.
Discipline. Ooh, that's something I could definitely use more of.
Me too.
Especially when it comes to procrastination.
Yes.
I think we've all been there. You know, putting things off until the last minute.
Yeah.
Even when we know it's not the best use of our time.
Procrastination is a universal challenge.
It is.
But the Bhagavad Gita reminds us that discipline is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the stronger it becomes.
Okay, so how do we strengthen our discipline muscle?
Well, the Bhagavad Gita suggests starting by creating a structured routine.
Okay.
It doesn't have to be rigid or overly complex, but just having some sort of general framework for your day can help you stay on track.
So like having set times for work, for meals, for exercise.
Exactly. It's about creating a rhythm for your day that supports your goals and your priorities. And it's not just about external structure. Sanyam also involves cultivating that inner discipline, which is about controlling your impulses, resisting those temptations that can derail our progress.
It's like when you know you should be working on a project, but you're like, ooh, I'm just going to check social media real quick.
Exactly.
And then you're down a rabbit hole.
An hour's gone by.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where the inner discipline comes in.
Precisely. And the Bhagavad Gita reminds us that every time we resist a temptation, we strengthen that discipline muscle.
We're working it out.
Yes. And that brings us to the fourth principle.
Right.
Which challenges us to shift our perspective on work itself.
Okay, a new perspective on work. I'm listening.
The fourth principle is all about working without attachment to the results.
Working without attachment to the results.
The Bhagavad Gita calls this Nishkama Karma.
Nishkama Karma. Okay, so wait a minute. Isn't the whole point of working to achieve something to get results?
It's a great question.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of what Nishkama Karma is all about. It's not about being indifferent to the outcome of your work.
Okay.
It's about shifting your focus from the end result to the process itself.
So it's about being fully present and engaged in the work.
Yes.
Rather than getting all anxious about what might happen in the future.
Exactly. The Bhagavad Gita reminds us that we have control over our actions, but we can't always control the outcomes.
Right.
And when we let go of that need to control,
we
free ourselves from a lot of worry and anxiety.
That's true.
And it allows us to work with greater clarity and focus.
So if you're constantly worried about whether or not you're going to succeed, it's just going to drain your energy and distract you from the work itself.
It will.
But if you can just let go of those worries and focus on the process,
you'll be more present, more creative, and ultimately more effective.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's not easy, but it's a practice.
Right.
And the Bhagavad Gita encourages us to cultivate this detachment through mindful action, focusing on each step of the process with full attention and intention.
So it's like finding the joy in the journey.
Exactly.
Rather than just fixating on the destination.
And that brings us to the fifth principle, which builds on this idea of detached action by emphasizing the power of simply doing.
The power of doing. I like that. What's the fifth principle all about?
It's called Karma Yoga.
Karma Yoga.
And it's all about action.
Okay.
Overcoming procrastination through action.
I like that.
The Bhagavad Gita reminds us that action is the key to progress.
Okay.
It's about taking those steps no matter how small towards our goals.
So we don't have to wait for like the perfect moment or have all the answers. Before we get started, we can just dive in and figure it out as we go.
Exactly.
Okay.
Even those small, consistent actions can create incredible momentum over time.
So instead of getting overwhelmed by this huge task, we can just break it down into smaller steps. And just start taking action.
That's a great way to put it.
Okay.
And the Bhagavad Gita encourages us to approach those actions with a sense of dedication and purpose.
Okay.
That's the essence of Karma Yoga.
So it's not just about like mindlessly doing things.
Right.
It's about bringing our full attention to whatever it is we're doing.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that brings us to the sixth and final principle, which emphasizes the importance of balance.
Balance.
The Bhagavad Gita calls this Samatvam Yoga.
Samatvam Yoga.
Balance is something I think we all could use a little bit more of.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. I tend to get so caught up in my work that I forget to take breaks. And then I just end up feeling completely burnt out.
I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
But the Bhagavad Gita reminds us that true productivity comes from finding that sweet spot between dedicated effort and rejuvenation.
So it's not about like pushing yourself to the limit all the time.
No.
It's about recognizing that rest is just as important as work.
Exactly.
Okay.
The Bhagavad Gita emphasizes that we need both. Periods of intense activity and periods of rest and reflection.
This is about creating a sustainable rhythm for our lives that allows us to thrive, both personally and professionally.
That's a great way to sum it up.
Okay.
It's about finding that balance.
Yeah.
That allows us to be fully present in all aspects of our lives.
This has been incredible.
It has.
I mean, we've explored so much wisdom.
We have.
About time management from the Bhagavad Gita.
An unexpected source.
Right, an ancient Indian text.
Who knows?
I know, and it's amazing how these ancient teachings are still so relevant today.
Absolutely. And what's truly inspiring is that the Bhagavad Gita doesn't just offer these tips and tricks for managing our time.
Right.
It offers us this profound philosophy for living a more meaningful and fulfilling life.
You're so right. It's not just about getting things done.
Yeah.
It's about aligning our actions with our purpose.
Yes.
Cultivating focus and discipline. And finding that balance between action and rest.
And ultimately, it's about recognizing that time is a precious gift.
Yes.
And it's up to us to use it wisely.
Time is a gift.
It is.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
What a great way to end our deep dive.
It has been a pleasure.
I hope that our listeners feel inspired.
Me too.
To explore these principles and see how they can apply them in their own lives.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course.
For this deep dive into the Bhagavad Gita and time management.
Anytime.
Until next time, stay curious and keep diving deep.